website tour. We've made some changes recently and give you a little brief overview of that. So before I get started, you can use your real hand or you can use your digital hand. Please tell me if you've ever done a PayPal button. And if you use your real hand, you have to actually turn your video on because I can't see it if you're off. Has anybody done a PayPal button? Nope. Okay, well then I don't have to ask this. Oh, Peg has. So my second question is, do you have well, I guess I can ask everybody this. How many of you have a national supported website? So you have the national template. How many are using that? Most of you. Okay, great. So that helps me because it's a little bit different if you have your own website or if you use the national template. Tracy, could you let me share screen, por favor? Okay. So I want screen 2. Okay. So a couple of things to remember as you go down this adventure. Oh, it logged me out. Darn, I logged in ahead of time. So the first thing to remember is you have to have a PayPal account in order to create a PayPal button. I know that seems pretty obvious, but I think there's some people who might think you can just create a button without having an account. So we're not going to go over how to set up an account. It's pretty easy. You create an account in your name, you have to connect it to a bank account so that you can transfer funds back and forth. And then you can do some of the things that we're doing tonight. So I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in using the AAUW account because I want to show you some things. Okay. Can I? All right. Well, it won't let me do that on this ID. A few minutes ago, it gave me the option to log in by password. So let me try this again. I will use my own account then, which is not nearly as cool as the office account. Okay. So when you log in and you're at home, well, this one takes me to donations. I'm not sure why, but let's say that you're at the home. Go to home. Okay. So you might get, all of the displays are different depending on how you have your account set up, but you might get something like this, which shows where I have sent money. It shows my bank accounts down here. It shows recent activity. I don't use PayPal very much, so there's not a lot of activity here. But you want to create a button. And sometimes it's really hard to find where to create a button. So I'm going to give you a shortcut here. If you go up to PayPal and you type in buttons at the end, so you go to paypal.com and then put buttons at the end, it's going to take you right to the buttons page. You can also search for buttons. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But if you put PayPal buttons down, you're going to get to this page. And there are lots of options. And some of them are very complicated. Like you can sell, remember PayPal is set up for selling. So you might have you might have a store that has a bunch of different items in it. And so you could have an order sheet that has a bunch of information. But we're going to start out kind of simple and just do a button that adds to cart. And I'm going to show you one that we have on the website. So if you go to branch tools and you go to branch marketplace and you want to buy a membership pin, we have this button that says add to cart. So I'm going to show you how we did that. So add to cart. So I have, this is on the website. This is instructions on the website. And then I have some instructions. Click on the add to cart button to order via PayPal. You'll be able to enter a quantity on the next screen. And let me just show you what that looks like. I was going to show you the actual button, but so this is our membership Poppy pin. I can say how many I want. And then I can go to PayPal and pay. I can either pay through PayPal or just kind of separate. And it's going to ask me where, because I'm now on the buying end, it's going to ask me how I want to charge it. But this is what we're looking for, is this button here. And you're going to be incredibly surprised at how easy it is. So I'm going to choose this add to cart. And I'm going to, you have to say what the button is about. So, because you need to be able to find it, right? So this is going to be my test button. Well, let's do a t-shirt. And the price for my t-shirt is $10.99. I get to choose the size of my button, small or large. I wouldn't worry about that too much, not a biggie. It's going to be in English. You can use a custom button image. I don't recommend that you do that. Just use the add to cart. That's the easiest thing to do. And then you can describe what it is. So in this case, I might have a t-shirt and I might have a couple of different options. The size of the t-shirt, small, medium, large, extra large, the color of the t-shirt, and maybe the neckline of the t-shirt. And I can add all of those things here. So I'm going to say size. And I'm going to say small. And you can see it builds right over here. So you can see what you're doing. Medium. Large. Extra large. And if you look over here, it builds it for you. Okay, pretty easy. And then let's say that I want to know a color. Blue. Green. Yellow. And you can add more drop downs. So I could say neckline, well, neckline. V-neck. Scoop. Scoop. And so you have all of these different choices here. So that's about the item that you're trying to sell. Now let's go into some of the optional tracking and stuff. So you definitely want to save your button at PayPal. If you had inventory, like if you were a real store and you had 100 t-shirts, you could track your inventory. I don't think we're generally that hardcore that we need to do that. And you can also track profit and loss. I don't think you need to do that at all either. And then you can also track your configuration. And there's some optional settings here. Do you want to add tax? So we did for our button add tax. And I had to look this up and it's like 7.8% or something like that. 7.85. You can also add a shipping rate. So let's say, and this is a flat rate that gets charged to every order. So let's say that it's $5. And you want to get the customer shipping address. And then you can say, when the order is done, where do you want the person to go? And I always put AAUW so that they come back. Well, you probably have to do like a real URL. So you want to pull this so it gets the HTTP part of it. And the same thing for if they cancel their transaction, where do you want them to go? And you save and create your button. So that's all that is necessary to create a button. And you can have that button do a bunch of stuff. You know, you can have it just be very simple, like I want to order a pin or I want to order a t-shirt with these different pieces. The second thing to know is that you have to, if you have an AAUW supported website, you have to send it to Site Resources in order for them to embed it in your site. So for those of you who have an AAUW website, you need to send it to Site Resources, site-resources@aauw.org. And they will embed it into the website for you. So you need to tell them what page you want it on and to send them that information. So you're going to copy this code and then you're going to create an email to Site Resources. Does everybody familiar with the Site Resources? I don't know, Tracy, if you want to put that in the chat, that might be helpful. It's site-resources at aauw.org. I'm just using mine as an example. I'm going to paste that. It looks like gobbledygook to most of us, but they're going to be able to put that in the form or in the website. And then you say, place it on page, and then you should give them the URL. So if I were going to the AAUW Mariposa website, oh, sorry, I can't type. Let's say you want it on the home page. You want to give them that URL so that they know what page it goes on. And then you can work around that page. So you can put information before and after it, but you want them to put it on that page for you. And then send it off. And that's as easy as it is, or as hard as it is.
And if you have your own website, you should probably know how to do that as well, but how do you?
So it depends on what your website is like. For AAUW California, I can show you what that looks like. It really depends on your website. I can't make a generalization. For us, it's an embed code. So generally there's some sort of embed code that you paste that into. And then it shows you what it's like. And so that's the add to cart. So all of this other stuff around it is stuff that we added as directions. All you're doing here is making the button itself. A couple of other things to remember. I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. A couple of other things to remember are you can reuse a button. So if you create a button and you like it, you can recreate it and copy it and put it on different pages. So I did a button for Mariposa that was donate, and it was donate to Tech Trek and donate to Speech Trek. And each of them were slightly different. You can have different button types. There's a donate button, so it says donate on it. There's the add to cart. So you can choose those different button types. And then the final thing I would suggest is that you test it before you launch it. So it's worth a 5-cent transaction or a $10 transaction or whatever for you to test it to make sure that it works. Because there's nothing worse than having your customers call you and say, it just doesn't work. So it's worth that amount of money. I also wanted to show you, as long as we're here, for those of you who, let's see which screen I went to. For those of you who wonder about site resources, their URL, and I guess we could put this in the chat as well. So Site Resources has a really old web page that has not been integrated into the new design. So you won't find this anywhere on aauw.org. And it is very valuable if you're a webmaster. This is where you find and can add service agreements. This is where you can get information on editing tips, tutorials, frequently asked questions, and most importantly, I think, request form for a new website editor. So when you're transitioning out or you're trying to add somebody new to your website, this is where you go to fill out this form. And you say, what kind of role do you want people to play? You can't play an administrator role. That's only for Site Resources, but you can be a super editor and you can be an editor. And you just fill this out down here and indicate what level of access people should have. And I know people have a hard time finding this because it's not on the site. So you kind of have to know where it came from. So
I got that
I've
right? Site-resources.aew.org.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, there are a couple questions in the
Yep.
chat.
Yep.
A couple of them are what they can use it for, which I think they can use it for whatever they want. Can you use this to pay dues? Can this be used for lunch registration? It can be used for anything, correct?
Absolutely. I think that, getting the right tool for what you're trying to accomplish is the key. And it might be a PayPal key and it might be something else. For paying dues, I would definitely send people to the community hub, because if you take dues in yourself, then you still have to write a check somewhere to get those dues to national. And I don't see any benefits to doing your own dues payment on the site at all. If it's for a donation to SPF, don't do your own. SPF has a site that has PayPal buttons, so you can do that there. If you're making a donation to AAUW, like a fund donation, again, do that, log in and do that, or help your members do that directly on the community hub. So what you can use it for is to sell things. So like we have our pin up there, Redlands has bears that they sell for Tech Trek, any of those kinds of things. If you wanted to do a PayPal button for an event that's coming up, you can certainly do that. I think that you might also, for that kind of an event, consider Eventbrite as a way to do that versus putting a button on your site. Because Eventbrite allows you to track membership and stuff like that. You're going to pay a fee either way. PayPal does charge a fee. Eventbrite charges a fee. So in some way, you've got to pay the bank. But I would use it for things like articles of something that you're trying to sell.
Another question here is creating accounts in my name ends up with me being responsible for the account forever. What are your suggestions for avoiding that?
Uh, well, yes, you actually have to be a real person to have a PayPal account. Um, so you have to have a transition plan. So when you're done with your role, somebody else needs to set up an account and transition the things off that are tagged to your account. So at the state level, we have this issue with even our credit cards. So every year or every 2 years, we change who is on the credit card. And that's something that you might consider for any of your financial documents. We had a branch who had some investment accounts, and the person whose name was on the account left the organization, and they're having a hard time now getting into that account. So you might consider having a couple of people on the account, or making sure when somebody leaves that you take care of that before they leave. But yeah, it has to go to a real person, because it's also going to go to a bank account, right? So hopefully you have a branch bank account that you can send it to.
As a super editor, will we be able to see the usage stats?
The usage stats are going to be in your PayPal account. So yes, you can see them. They're not website based. They're in your PayPal account. And depending on how you have your PayPal account set up, you have to remember to move the money to your bank account if you don't have an automatic transfer set up. So it'll just sit in your PayPal account until you move it over, unless you've got something automatically set up.
And do you know what the fee is for PayPal these days?
Not off the top of my head, but let's see.
Percentage, I
We'll
think,
share
or
button. Yeah, so let's just do this. Okay. So PayPal fees depends on how it is sent in. Standard credit card and debit card payments are 2.99 plus a fixed percent, plus a fixed fee. That fixed fee changes over time. So I know that people are very concerned about the fee, as they are as things go to SPF. There's always concern about the overhead and the fee that's associated with that. My feeling is if you're taking, if you're selling something or taking a donation, 2.99% of zero is zero. So if you don't have anything coming in, you're not paying anything. But if you have something coming in, you're definitely paying an administrative fee for that. But if it means you get money in, that's generally worth the price, so that you have the money coming into you.
and I don't see anything there regarding nonprofits, right? So
I don't
doesn't
think there's
seem
a
like there's any,
nonprofit. Yeah, I don't think there's a special rate for nonprofits.
right? Um, there is, can you specify where on the screen to put the button? Can it be moved after? Those are all up to you
Yeah,
where you want it to be.
yeah, those can all be moved. So if you were to go to your website and you look at the behind the scenes, you look at that, you're going to see the code for it, and you can add text above or below and move that around. The important thing is that National has to embed the code for you. And I have to admit, I've been working with a branch on trying to get that embed code for a while. They are using interns for their technical support, and sometimes it takes a couple of tries in order for them to be effective. I don't know with the new refresh that's supposed to happen. I have requested that we have the capability of doing our own embed codes, because hopefully the new theme, they're using more what are called widgets that we can access. So I'm hopeful that we can do this ourselves, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
Um, this is a good comment from Peg. You might note on your site, this some of the text you might put on there, that a person doesn't need to have a PayPal account to use the button. because a user can use any credit or debit card.
Right,
So a lot of
yeah.
people don't realize that, so they shouldn't worry about it going to PayPal.
Well, so the only people who know that it's PayPal are us, right? So
Yeah,
it's just a button for other people. And when they get to that button, they get the choice of either paying through PayPal or paying through just a regular credit card.
right,
So, yeah.
that's true. Um, all right, Okay, what is the Community Hub for Dues? Well, that's the national websites, MSD, basically. That's where all our membership data resides from the national site. And that's where dues are paid. When you go on to renew your dues, that's where you're going when you go to aew.org.
It's also
And
where donations are made. It's where CU partners are, everything. It replaced the member services database from several years ago. It is the everything. Everything that National tracks is through the Community Hub at this point.
you may have been there but didn't know you were there, but that's what it's called. Um, let's see if someone joins at a branch event, how do you get their money except by check?
Well, they can always, so you can join at a branch event and still have them join online. You just have to give them the Shape the Future code in order for them to get the uh, uh, discount. So you can always, you could have somebody at your event have a computer and have them log in and do it there. Then you don't have to do any paperwork at all.
But in many cases, it's easier just to take a check and process it that first time
You
for
can
them.
do that, yeah. Then
Either
you
way,
have to check, you have to send it to National.
yeah. Let's see, for local scholarship fundraising, we more than tripled donations from 10K to 35K. Is that, Peg, is that because you used an online method of payment? This is from Peg,
Yes, that is what happened, is that
so it made it
things went
easier.
through the roof. It was so easy for people to give money.
Yeah. So that's a good reason to do it. So is it a real person's information we are using our AEW bank account? Helen, I don't think I
It
understand.
is a real person, but you attach it to your AAUW bank account.
Does that answer your question, Helen?
Where's Helen?
So
Okay.
Sandy, you mean you can't create it in the name of your branch? You couldn't
Right,
create,
there's a real
There's
person
always a
behind it.
person behind it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like your bank accounts. You always have a person behind it, no matter
Yeah.
what
yeah,
the
but you
account
can have a
title is.
trust fund or something that's got a different name and that links to an account. So I mean, I understand you have to have an actual actual checking account that it goes to. Most of the branches have their own bank account. I just thought the name could be the name of the branch and that way it would carry on for
Well, you
years.
can name it the branch, but it has to be associated with the real person behind it.
Mm,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I covered all the questions in the chat. Does anybody else have any additional questions regarding the PayPal button and how to do it? There's also, this is being recorded, so if you need to look at it again, we don't have any other step-by-steps out there on the website, right? Okay.
No, it's so easy. Like if you just
Yeah.
Google add PayPal button, well, you don't even need it. If you just follow the directions. The hardest part is finding the button on your PayPal account. That's the hardest. That's why I showed you to change it to buttons at the end, and then it will come up. That's the hardest part. And then just follow the directions.
That maybe segues into showing them the search feature again on our webinars and so forth, and what information we do have out there on the California website.
Okay, so we just recently redid a couple of sections of the website. And so I'm just gonna run you through a couple of them. So we updated California Business and we're using a little bit of a different style here. So information is very similar. We don't have submenus anymore. You go to that page and then you'll see some different options. So here's where you'd find out about the annual event. Here's some information about communications, governance, our nominations and elections. So that's coming up, right? You're all going to apply for a candidate, you know, to be a director this year, right?
Every
Right?
one of you, yes.
Every one of you, yes. So all you do is go there and then click apply here. So, so I've just increased the number of people who are going to apply for that. We also
you
redid
show-
branch.
Can you
Go ahead.
show where to, because we have a question on where to find this recording. Can you
Yeah,
maybe use that as an
perfect
example?
segue. So under branch tools, these top three things are really probably the most common things you might want to use. So you would go to peer groups. So this is a peer group. This is the communications peer group. And if you click on peer groups, it's going to show you all the different options here. So we are the technology peer group. And if you click here to access the YouTube video playlist with the meeting recordings. It's going to show you all of the meeting recordings that are tagged with the technology peer group. So you can find them here. So that's peer groups, but there are also webinars out there, and we recently reorganized these, and you may have heard about this at the last meeting or the previous meeting. But we reorganized this when we first started doing webinars. It was COVID, and we thought we organized them by year because, you know, we thought there was just going to be 1 year, and then, oh, maybe they're just going to be 2 years. And we ended up with 4 years of webinars out there. And so we recently reorganized it to make it easier to find the information. So it's organized by the year, the title of the event, a little description, so you can have a sense of what's in that, because sometimes the title matches the description and sometimes we give it a cutesy title that helps you maybe be engaged in joining the webinar, but doesn't really describe the webinar. Like, She Who Thrives Survives. What in the heck is that about? Well, it's about successful characteristics and practices of successful branches. And then we have the host, the area that it is, and then the type, whether it's a webinar. Most of these are webinars. There are a couple of presentations in here, but most of these are webinars. So you can just scroll down the list and find it. The other thing is if you know the host, like I know that Kathy Harper did a presentation. I can't remember what it was, and I can't remember where it was, but oh, she's done 4 presentations. 3 of them are in public policy, and 1 of them is GovTrack. So then you just click on this, and it'll take you to the post about that. And let's say, oh, it wasn't really Kathy Harper. How in the world do I get rid of limiting it by Kathy Harper? Well, you just go up here and click on it, and poof, she goes away. You could also say, I want to see everything that's related to DEI. So I'm going to choose the DEI, and you'll see there are lots of different people who've given DEI webinars over the years, starting back in 2020. I can get rid of that. And then if you just want to search for something, you can search for it here, and it will search just the table. If you want to search for information across the whole website, you use this one up here on the top. So the other thing to mention is these are the kind of internal things that are most important to our members or our leaders is this top line here. And you can remember what's different about this than this is it starts with California business. So all of these things are really related to California business. And these are more externally focused, with the exception of public policy, who has collapsed their internal and their external into one page because they think it gels together better that way. And then you have many different options here, from membership resources to DEI to Marketplace, which is where we went and found the pin. You'll be using branch officer report at the end of the year, or your president will, to indicate the new incoming president and other staff. Calendar, the directory, general help, and this button here. Public policy just redid their presence, and it's quite dramatically different than their previous one. So they have separated things into public policy priorities, legislative advocacy, issues we care about, special projects like the school board project, what's going on at different branches. They have a newsletter that goes out to all the public policy chairs. They're located here. Women Who Changed the World is kind of interesting one. News from National, and then who the public policy committee members are. So, and then each of these opens up another page. So if we look at issues we care about, for example, it opens up a page on all of these different topics. And then each of these opens up, like Title IX, I think has 9 articles on it. So Tracy and Dawn, did I hit the highlights of the thing? Oh, the leadership. You wanted me to go to the leadership stuff on branch tools. I remember now. So under leadership resources, we've reorganized this a little bit too, so that it's organized. It actually was organized under these topics: general information, change management, governance structures. We've cleaned it up. It had some information that was a little dated on here, so we reviewed all of them and we cleaned it up and limited it to things that were still relevant. And it works the same as the other one. You click on it and it will take you to the post on that information or to an article. So these tend to be older than the webinars. So these are materials. Remember a time before we didn't have Zoom, when we actually did presentations in conference rooms at conventions? A lot of this material is related to some of those features.
But
So
I
you've
might
got
add, a
groups
lot
and
of them
webinars.
also have really useful nuggets of information that apply still today. So that's why we left some of those materials in. Because if people take the time to look at them, they'll see that there's actually some very useful information that hasn't changed.
Yep, we just updated the glossary, removed all the references to the MSD, Member Services Database, and to some of the old fund names, and updated this whole document. So it's pretty fresh, the stuff that's in this area. Branch Finance redid their website presence, I think a year and a half ago. And if your branch is replacing their treasurer, this is an amazing place to go, because it tells you how to be a branch treasurer. It gives you all of the information that you need to be successful. So then under programs, you have GovTrack, SpeechTrack, TechTrack. And these are the internal ones. So like for GovTrack, if you're a branch coordinator, you want to know the branch coordinator materials, so you can find them there. But if you're a student or a parent who's interested in, you might look on the external page and look at GovTrack and look at program activities, student registration, that sort of thing. And since you're all techies, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Sometime before July, we're going to be changing the security on the website. Right now, you might recall that anything that is password protected, the password is AAUWCA. It's not really very secure, especially since we put it out in newsletters and everything. So we'll be changing that so that members have to log in order to see confidential information. So that'll be kind of a change for people. I think it's really consistent with what the rest of the world is doing. And I want to do that before I head off into the sunset in July. So you'll be hearing about that this summer.
All right, so
I'm-
we have, go ahead.
Yeah, open for questions that if anybody just has general questions.
We got some questions in chat, Tracy.
Mhm,
That
yeah,
was helpful for everyone, I think.
yeah. They're wondering about, can we borrow any images we find on the state site to use for ours?
Sorry,
Um,
I was reading, I wasn't listening. Can you say it again?
Okay. Can we borrow any images we find on the state site to use for ours? And there's
Yes,
another one
all of
regarding
the
that.
images on the state site are legal.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty picky about, things have to be in the public domain or locally created before they go on the site. So yes, just like national, the same thing for national. If you find an image on the national site, you can use it as well.
Okay. And completely different subject, who could I contact about newsletters, especially templates? I think that is, well, you can either, I don't know, we've had talks about Canva, using Canva to do that. Um,
So I
There are
think
also
that's
some
it's
examples out
kind of
there.
a challenging one. It depends a
Yeah.
little bit on your infrastructure. So if you're using MailChimp or Constant Contact, they have templates that are already available within those tools that I would start with. Canva, if you want to do something that is is a PDF that you distribute, you can use Canva. Canva has amazing newsletter templates as well, and they're really, really easy to use. We don't at the state level have any recommendations about specific templates that we would recommend because every branch is different. And it was hard enough to get a membership flyer that everybody could agree to. So I can't imagine trying to do a newsletter template, but those resources are out there. So I'd look at Canva, I'd look at MailChimp, and I'd look at Constant Contact as the first places.
But the membership template you came up with rocks. Thank you very much.
Can you say that again so I can oh, it is being recorded. I want to
It's
just
being
take that
recorded.
clip. Thank you.
We'll just
That
have
was-
it play over and over.
That's very rewarding to hear because there
Yeah.
were a lot of hours on that, so that's.
It's amazing.
There was a question also regarding photos. Tracy, you might not have seen the one. They're asking what
It
is
was very,
what is the easiest or best method for taking some of the photos and logos to use on our website? What is the best way to capture those logos and images that you see on other places that are legal for you to take? What's the best way to grab them?
So it kind of depends on your, it kind of depends on your computer, where you are and how you're accessing it. A couple of things. A lot of times you can right click on the image and it'll give you the option to save as. And then you can save the image. A lot of times those images are, it depends on where you want to use them. Sometimes they're kind of low quality, but for the website, they're probably fine. The other thing is you can use a tool like, oh my God. I know it starts with an S. Say it, Bev. Say it.
Snag it.
Snagit. I wanted to say SnapGrid, but that's a different tool. You can use Snagit, and Snagit is a tool that allows you. It's like a screenshot of that image, and then you can manipulate that image. You can add things to it. So those are the two ways that I would do it. It's pretty easy to do. Probably the biggest challenge is where to find it. It usually goes into your downloads folder, and that's where I would look.
and we just got another one about, can we do a session on MailChimp or Constant Contact? I think we could.
We have, yeah, so you should find out what people want because we've done a session on all three of them. It's posted on the website.
Mhm.
And the differences between MailChimp, Constant Contact, and there was another one.
Oh, yeah, I can, oh, it escapes me.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't remember.
That's, you can find that presentation. It's a PowerPoint. It's not
It
it's not a Zoom
It's
presentation.
not a webinar, it's a PowerPoint, yeah.
It's a PowerPoint,
It's
but
from
it
the
was
dark
so
ages.
packed with information, you'll still learn from it. And it's in that webinar table that Sandy showed you. As she said, it also has some PowerPoint presentations in that webinar table, and you'll find it there. There's 2 or 3 that she has done that are, even though you don't have her color commentary to go with it, it's packed with information. What was the name of that one? Vertical something? Does that ring a bell, Sandy?
Hmm.
There-
Let's see. Let's see how well this works. Because you know, it's all about keywords and what I would call something and what you would call something.
I think
So-
it's in the webinar. I think it's in the webinar table, Sandy.
I was in the webinar. Okay,
I
sorry.
think so. I could be wrong. You can scroll down there before you leave and see.
Let's see. And what do you think it is?
Technology.
Um,
Technology.
And MailChimp probably in the title, no?
Or just go with
Could be.
technology.
MailChimp demo. Woo, look at that.
Random.
Email platform discussion. That one might be here too.
And then there was another one that compared constant contact with MailChimp with another one. So
Yep.
there's a lot in there.
Yep. So here's one on MailChimp.
that
So
you don't
maybe
even-
people could look at it and then see what additional questions they have. You know,
If it's worth having
Randa
a
and
session.
I are probably happy to do that. Randa does a lot of our MailChimp stuff.
Randa that actually has a recorded webinar somewhere, don't you, Randa? Of doing where you actually built a MailChimp newsletter and distribution.
Yeah, I think that's the one we were looking at, or is it a different one?
It's a different one. It's a different
Okay.
one. Yeah.
And on February 12th, Randa is doing a Snagit presentation for AEW California Online at 4
Oh.
o'clock for the tech group. It will be recorded. I've skipped one here, and this is a Julika question for sure. Let's get her involved. Who do we send our monthly newsletters to at AEW California?
Branch newsletters at aew-ca.org.
I'll put that down in there for those who don't know that. Is it all one word?
Yes,
Oh, as long as I'm being complimentary, you guys have really ramped up great graphics and things that you're sending out for the website. They're just amazing. I grabbed those things. I got a whole folder of them to share, so.
Thank you.
Then you know they've already been vetted too, which is nice. Is Snagit an end application? Yes, it is.
It is a great tool.
Mhm.
And there is a charge for it. I don't know what it is currently, $49 or $59, or maybe it's gone up. But you don't have to update it. They will encourage you to update it, but I'm using kind of an old version and it's just fine. And it's got so many things you can do with it.
$60 a year.
Oh, it's 60 now.
Hmm.
Is it a year? Oh, I don't think, maybe I've been grandfathered into a really old version.
So we have a few minutes here, and if there are any more questions for Sandy on any of the topics she showed you, definitely raise your hand or interrupt me here. But we do need to come up with some more topics. If you have any that you're thinking of right now or anything you want to revisit, do let me know. So I'm not sure if we have anything. Do we have anything, Dawn, that you can remember that we?
No, we were actually it's interesting, we sort of triggered that a little bit in this tonight's meeting, but we had talked previously about a little bit more about images, finding images, where to find images, where to find free images, how to capture them, how to modify them, and maybe I know Randa has a lot of experience with that. Maybe she'd like to sort of put all those things together and do something on that. That's one topic that we have talked about, is where to find them, how to modify them, how to capture them, how to modify them. So that's
Making
a
sure the
topic.
sources are good and that they're legal. Anything else anyone here has was curious about or has having difficulty with.
Does
Okay, well,
does anybody else get very frustrated with WordPress on the branch website?
Anybody? Is there anybody who doesn't?
Bev's
It's
head
a
is
piece
going
of
to explode.
cockadoo. I'm
Everybody
sorry.
step back from your laptop because Bev's head's going to explode.
It is
So,
so
everyone-
A
frustrating.
couple of, yeah, so last month, I meet with National on the second Thursday of the month, and last month it was, the message I got was that early next week, so that would be 3 weeks ago, we're gonna get notification about the implementation of the new theme file, which is supposed to follow the national theme. And I'm meeting with them this Thursday, so it's been a month and I haven't seen the email yet. And my question is going to be, did I miss it? Because I volunteered California to be a test site for it. And so we haven't heard it. There's definitely, it needs to be updated. And I think everybody would agree with that.
Can you
Um,
say more about what you're talking about, the theme file?
Oh, yeah, so the way that the website looks
Okay,
is based on what's called the theme, and the theme dictates things like what the banner looks like, what the colors are, what the headers are. We use WordPress, the California site is WordPress, but we use a different theme. And so we have we have got the boxes on the home page and that sort of thing. So National's going to create a site that has your content kind of in the middle. It's going to have some, at least as anticipated, some boxes from National. For those of you who have been around a while, there used to be RSS feeds that you could put in your website so that you could go to National. They're going to embed what looks like boxes at the bottom that take you to some of their content, so that that part would remain fresh even if you didn't update your website.
Mm,
And there's supposed to be more tools, more what are called widgets to be able to do things. And it's right around the corner.
And it's been right around the corner for what, 2 years now, 3 years?
It's actually like 3. Yeah. I feel like I'm going in circles. There have been so many corners.
May I ask a question?
yes,
What is the official color or colors of the AAUW banner? I do 2 newsletters, one for Tehachapi, California, and one for Kihei, Hawaii, and one has blue and one has purple. Has it changed? What is the official color?
Purple's not been a color for a while. I
Okay.
can show you where to find it. That's pretty funny. So if you go to the National site,
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have to be logged in, but I'm not positive. It's under membership. And then no, sorry.
I
It's
thought it was-
under, yeah, it's under governance and tools,
All of which is so intuitive, right?
state
No
and
one-
branch tools.
No
Okay,
wonder
so
you-
I just saw an orange background under the W, and you have a white one behind your W.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you where the logos and branding materials are. So here is here are all of the logos. So these are the national logos. So these don't have a state tagline on them. This one, state and branch logos, you have to pick your state and then you can pick. And if you look at like Bakersfield, these are all here, and then you can download it. So I'm going to choose download here, and then it's going to go to my download file. I'm hitting the back key to go back here. And then there is a branding guidelines if we go back far enough about
color palette.
color palette. Where's the color palette? There we go. So these are the color palette. This is the color palette. And so if you're in any application, you can put in these numbers, either the hex code, it depends on how the application works. There is a mistake in this one. I would not use the CMYK, it's wrong. It gives you kind of an orangey color. It's actually 1790-107. But the CA 2309 works, so you can use that. And these are the colors that we try to use. And most of the California stuff falls within these guidelines. I'm a more blue kind of gal than I am an orangey gal. So I tend to go with the blue palette. Our public policy group really likes the blue, red, and orange. So you'll see that on their motifs. But any of these colors are okay. Does
Okay,
that help?
kind of.
Kind of. So I would send you this link, but I'm pretty sure you have to be logged in because this is in their SharePoint site. So I think you have to be logged in to get here.
Okay, I'll just listen to your recording and get to the end and
Okay.
see, go through that
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Okay, so we're at almost at the top of the hour. Anybody have any other questions? So we have Sandy here. Ask her anything. She has all the
Anything.
answers.
Okay, I'm gonna ask another question.
Okay,
Good.
Some of these, you mentioned like Canva and MailChimp. These are platforms where you can come up with a newsletter template and it can be used across different operating systems.
So MailChimp is a delivery system. So in that you load up your membership list and then you use that to send out a message. And within that application, there are templates that you can use. Canva is a complete design tool and you can create something there and then you download it as a PDF or a image file, and then you can use that and send it out that way. So you could create a newsletter in Canva, download it as a PDF, and then send it out as a link or post it on your website. So they're kind of different animals.
Okay, no, it's just that right now we're using Publisher and well, Publisher cannot go over to the Mac. You can't buy that copy on the Mac. So I ended up buying myself. I didn't charge the branch, but I was thinking of like maybe doing Google Docs or something because that's you can use that across all platforms, and it wouldn't restrict who gets to work on the newsletter.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
my
so
Wait,
you have
wait.
there are a couple of different things in your comments there. So in terms of editing and having people collaborate on a document, we use Google Docs exclusively and everybody can join in and we edit that way. And then when it's done, then we put it into a tool. So like for our California Connection, Randa puts that into MailChimp to send it out. We could also do that into a newsletter and then make a PDF out of it. So the collaboration is really good on Google Docs because everybody can access it. They can go into suggesting mode and then you can or make comments and then you can accept them or not accept them. So that's one way. But then when you actually produce it, some of the other tools are more helpful than Google Docs.
Okay, no, I understand that. I just don't want to have to be doing this newsletter forever because certain people don't have Publisher. I want to make it available to,
Yes,
a format
Yes.
that's available to more people.
yes.
My concern.
Yeah, well, I
So-
think Canva is probably a better choice than the publisher at this point in time.
I
Cause
use,
it is
I use
available
Canva
to you.
totally, and I love Canva. And what I do is I put it into Constant Contact. And I put it into that and it works out really nicely. You know, but it's like how you set it up, and it's so much fun to work with it. It's just fun.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you.
Sharon, you have your hand up.
Well, I just wanted to say to Janice that our person who was doing our directory and our newsletter for eons moved out of the area, and I took over doing the directory and someone else took over doing the newsletter. And she had been doing it and the woman that had been doing it for eons had been doing it in Microsoft Publisher. And we switched to Google Docs. So now the directories in Google Docs, there's a link on our website to the Google Doc that had it password protected with the member directory on there. And then the person that's doing the newsletter, she does it in Google Docs, and we're just using email. We just have email groups that we send it to, but I'm interested in looking at MailChimp or something else to do that. But it was, because I changed it because it was going to be very expensive to buy Microsoft Publisher. And the person that was doing it before, she somehow had access through her university status or something. So she had free access to Microsoft Publisher, and I couldn't justify having the branch pay for that. So that was all.
Thank you.
Yeah, tools change over time. It's
Right.
nice that there are some new ones available that are much easier to use than the old ones.
And Peg had a comment regarding Canva, and the Canva will give you a free account if you provide them with the correct documentation, nonprofit info, and a letter from the branch president testifying that you are the person who does the graphics. I think they allow up to 50 users for free.
An upgraded account, not the
Okay.
regular pre-account, but the upgraded one,
Upgraded account.
where you
Okay.
get access to all of their, which is
Okay,
really a lot
so-
more fun, because I always want to pick the
Yeah.
graphics that you have to pay for, so that got frustrating.
Those are always better,
They're
Oh,
always
yeah.
better.
like little
Surprise,
teasers.
surprise. Yeah.
And I was going to say, for those of you who use QR codes too, when you use it with Canva, it never expires. You know, you might use one of those apps that has a QR code, and automatically it's only good for like 3 months or so. But if you use Canvas, they have apps within Canva, the QR code, that's what I used for Glendale. It shows up, it's going to stay there. Nothing can change it. Well, unless I do.
Well, that's good to know. All righty, so anything else from anybody? And we will be thinking on topics. And if you come up with anything, definitely contact me. My contact info is where we showed the recording, but I'll also put it here in the chat like I do every time. Oops, did I spell it right? And I want to thank you all for coming. And we'll see you next month.